Gopi Janaba Labha Girid Baradari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Shabam Sabharajikachaya Astatana Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jayam Vishnupam Sabharajikachaya Astatana Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Gaura Premanandi Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, Chapter 25, The Glories of Devotional Service, Text 8. Tasya tam tamasondasya Disparas yajya padagam Satchakshur Jamanamante Labdame Tvad Anugrahat Tasya Tang Tamasondasya Dusparas Yajya Padagam Satchakshur Jamanamante Labdame Tvad Anugrahat Tasya Tvam Tamasondasya Dusparas Yajya Padagam Satchakshur Janmanamante Labdame Tvad Anugrahat Vaishnavis. Tasya, that. Tvam, you. Tamasa, ignorance. Andasya, darkness. Dushparasya, difficult to cross. Ajja, now. Padagam, crossing over. Sat, transcendental. Chakshu, eye. Janmanam, of birth. Ante, at the end. Labdam, attained. Me, my. Twat anugrahat, by your mercy. Translation, this is Devahuti speaking to Lord Kapila Dev, who has just appeared as her son. And Kardama Muni, her husband, has already departed for the forest, leaving Devahuti under the care of the son, who happens to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead, a plenary expansion. She says, "Your Lordship is my only means of getting out of this darkest region of ignorance, because you are my transcendental I, which, by your mercy only, I have attained after many, many births." Purport. This verse is very instructive, since it indicates the relationship between the spiritual master and the disciple. The disciple, or conditioned soul, is put into this darkest region of ignorance, and therefore is entangled in the material existence of sense gratification. It is very difficult to get out of this entanglement and attain freedom. But if one is fortunate enough to get the association of a spiritual master like Kapila Muni or his representative, then by his grace one can be delivered from the mire of ignorance. The spiritual master is therefore worshipped as one who delivers the disciple from the mire of ignorance with the light of the torch of knowledge. The word padagam is very significant. Padagam refers to one who can take the disciple to the other side. This side is conditioned life. The other side is the life of freedom. The spiritual master takes the disciple to the other side by opening his eyes with knowledge. We are suffering simply because of ignorance. By the instruction of the spiritual master, the darkness of ignorance is removed, and thus the disciple is enabled to go to the side of freedom. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita that after many, many births, one surrenders to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Similarly, if after many, many births, one is able to find a bona fide spiritual master and surrender to such a bona fide representative of Krishna, one can be taken to the side of light. Translation again. Your Lordship is my only means of getting out of this darkest region of ignorance, because you are my transcendental I, which by your mercy only I have attained after many, many births. Om Gyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitang Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasani Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare. Devahuti is making sure to take advantage of having a son of the caliber of Lord Kapila Dev. She knows he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. She's determined, let me take shelter. Not simply because her husband has left home, as he should do according to the Vedic system, but because she knows the qualification of the son, most importantly. You may recall in the previous chapters, she lamented to her husband that I failed to realize your full glories. I was attached to you for all the wrong reasons. I loved you for all the wrong reasons. Now, belatedly, I realize, just when you're about to leave home, that indeed you are a self-realized soul who can rescue me from material contamination. She begged her husband, as we talked about last week, all right, you're going to leave, but what about me? The daughters, the 9 daughters that you've given, they'll all marry husbands and go off. What about me? What will protect me from being fearful? This is her way of asking for a son. And she had the most extraordinary son, Lord Kapila Dev, whose specific mission is to teach you real Sankhya Yoga. Sankhya means to count, to analyze into different components. Lord Kapila Dev teaches how to analyze the material world and get to the root of it, and most importantly, to water that root with bhakti. In other words, Kapila Dev is not simply teaching jnana in terms of material analysis of the illusion, which is necessary. But he's teaching, once you get to the root of the illusion, water that root with bhakti. So Devahuti is determined to take shelter. He's appeared as my son, but I know what he can give. He can give me freedom from material existence. So she pleads with him, Asat Indriya Darshanat. I'm sick of the disturbance of my material senses. I'm tired, I'm exhausted of being agitated by my material senses, which have pushed me deep down into the abyss, the deep hole of ignorance. So she's appealing to him. Your lordship is my only means of getting out of this darkest region of ignorance. We should try to feel her plea, feel for her existential situation. As exalted as she is, she's claiming, get me out of this darkest region of ignorance. How motivated are we? Bhakti has so much to do with motivation, and motivation has so much to do with association. She's surrendering to Kapila Dev, her son, as her guru. You may remember the picture. You can't see it from here. The famous picture on the cover of this volume of Bhagavatam, where Devahuti is sitting before her son, who's seated on an asana, glowing, and she's sitting before him with folded hands, imbibing the Divya Gyan, the transcendental knowledge. These paintings are very effective, I found out. Maybe 30, 35 years ago, my mother took an interest in, although she's very staunch Christian in terms of one way and one way only, she decided to take a look at Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. And she was at that time fascinated by Bhagavad Gita. Oh, there's a lot of parallels with the Bible. And so she saw this painting on the cover of the third canto, Devahuti, seated submissively on a lower seat before her son, who was on a higher seat and who was expounding. Yes, you've all seen that picture. So when I once went to visit my mother 35 years ago, and I entered the living room and she sat me on the couch, and then she sat on the floor in front of me and said, "Is this how you do it?" She became so impressed by Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam that she kind of went the other way. That, oh, this is too much. I could be deviating from Christianity. And how much are we eager to get out of material existence? This is a question every devotee has to ask of themselves. How much do we understand the ignorance that surrounds us? Or do we just take it as normal? The example we can use is of your waking up in the middle of the night and you have to go relieve yourself. Especially if you're at a different place, which is for me all the time. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and where am I? But even in your own home, you can sometimes wake up in the middle of the night and have to grope your way around. And you feel kind of proud. Wow, I could do this. Yeah, my night vision is good. I didn't bump into anything. I'm quite competent. I didn't have to turn on the light. I can maneuver through the darkness, find my way to the bathroom. So this is our pride. We can't really see anything in material existence, but we take pride in our groping around. We have no idea, though, what the destination is. At least when you wake up in the middle of the night, you know I'm going to the bathroom. But in material existence, you're groping in the darkness, and you don't know what the goal is. You don't know what you're attaining. You're just, as we often point out, relishing the moment. Materialist philosophers say, even under the guise of meditation, that the moment is a very jealous and demanding spouse. You have to give everything to the moment and don't deviate. When you walk in the garden, you see the redness of the rose, the greenness of the plants. When you're tasting an apple, you meditate on the freshness of that apple, the particular flavors that it's giving you. It's all about the moment, which is a very jealous, demanding spouse. I don't know how many of you have had a jealous, demanding spouse. But anyway, that's the example given. You have to give all your attention, undivided. So according to materialistic meditation, that is how you live life. Just sinking your absorption of your consciousness into that moment. But from the Bhagavad point of view, this is ignorance. You got to turn on the light. You're focusing on the moment in the darkness. Why not turn on the light and see where it is you should be going, where you're actually going according to your current behavior? What's the easiest way from point A to point B? How to be progressive in your life? How can you be progressive if you don't know what the point is of the progress? We spoke last week about human beings can be best described as flesh-covered devices for extracting and burning fossil fuels. They offer you a society of high consumerism and carbon burning. That's progress. Every inhabitant of the planet has to start thinking, how can we stop making the planet uninhabitable? We're inhabitants, but we're making our very planet uninhabitable. This is the darkness of ignorance in the name of progress. The economic growth monster is trampling us, but we cling to it with such love and such devotion as everything becomes destroyed. This is the darkness of ignorance. So we have to deal with that pride. I can see, I know what I'm doing. And part of that pride is thinking, where is Krishna? Where is God? Why can't I see God? If there's a God, I should be able to see him. If here I am in the darkness, if there's something that I should be connecting with, why don't I see it? Hey, turn on the light. No, I should be able to see. What do I need light for? Well, sometimes people say that. Why do you devotees need to resolve all the existential issues of life into one complete singular package? Why don't you just accept accept the a la carte process? Take a little bit from here, take a little bit from there, make your own blend, be an adult. Why do you feel that someone other than you has to give your life meaning and purpose? So there you are in the darkness, in your house or an unknown place, unfamiliar place, and you're groping, trying to find your way around. And someone says, someone's there with you and says, why don't you just flick on the light, No. Are you trying to tell me that I should just be a baby and do something as easy as turn on the light switch? No, I'm going to grope through the darkness and see what I come up with. That's the real way to live. The person says, just turn on the light. Why avoid banging into things, knocking things over? No, look. I give my life meaning and purpose. I don't need to turn on the light switch. I'm an adult. I'm competent. I'm a member of the most advanced version of human society ever. I'll do things my way. So all Devahuti is asking is that Kapila turns on the light for her. She says, you're my transcendental I. You're not a normal means of vision. Your vision that you give is beyond the three modes of material nature. So this idea we have that, if there is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I should see him. It takes a while for us to grasp, but this is arrogance. We're assuming implicitly that our vision is qualified. And therefore the burden of proof is on Krishna, because I know what I'm looking at. I can see. But Devahuti is reminding us that we can't see. That's what it means to be in the darkness of ignorance. We need to have the light switch turned on. In the 4th canto of Bhagavatam, you read an astonishing statement which causes us to reflect. There it says, more important than seeing Krishna is hearing about Krishna from authorized descriptions and authorized persons. That sounds astonishing, doesn't it? Isn't the emphasis just on seeing, seeing, seeing? How can hearing be believing? Isn't seeing believing? But the Bhagavatam seeks to convince you that more important for the conditioned soul, more important than seeing Krishna, is hearing about Krishna. You may see something and not know what you're looking at. It happens all the time. But by hearing the authorized descriptions, you gain understanding of what is right before your very eyes. In the book I wrote, Searching for Vedic India, I mentioned an experiment that was done involving university biology students. And they were asked to look into a high-powered microscope at some biological specimen. No one could understand what they were looking at, even though it was right before their eyes in such a high-powered way. Why didn't they understand? Because they didn't have knowledge. They didn't know what they're looking at, although it's right there. But then the professor explains, this is what you're looking at. These are the characteristics. And in this way, the students become equipped with biological knowledge, and the next time they look through the microscope, they recognize, oh, that's this, that's that. Otherwise, as they say, it's all Greek to them. So we're so confident about our power of seeing. And indeed, we lose enthusiasm in our bhakti because of failure to develop our bhakti hearing, which is the way to see Krishna. As the Shastra says, Atasri Krishna Namadi. Seva Mukhi Jivada Swayameva Sprachida. Devotional service begins with the tongue by vibrating and tasting, and you understand Krishna by hearing. You hear your own chanting, you hear the chanting of others. You are experiencing Krishna. When you look around in a kirtan and you see everyone dancing, yes, they're dancing, yes, they're chanting, they are also seeing. They may not know it, but they're seeing Krishna through the ears. Otherwise, why are they jumping up and down saying 3 words over and over again? You're not dummies, you're not morons. Why are you jumping up and down and saying 3 words over and over again? This morning, 45 minutes worth of 3 words, jumping up and down, forming circles, and the ladies are dancing back and forth. You're seeing Krishna. But unless you take this knowledge from Bhagavatam about how to perceive Krishna, you could become dull and lethargic. And implicit in your lethargy is the notion that, hey, I've been around in bhakti for a couple of years. I haven't seen the blue boy. But as the acharyas always point out to us, when Krishna was present in his prakat lila, his manifest lila 5,000 years ago, very few persons knew what they were looking at, although he's right there. Some thought he was a demigod. Some thought he was the most powerful human being on the planet. Some thought he was the super soul, but very few understood this is Swayam Bhagavan, the original personality of Godhead. So much for our power of seeing, even when Krishna is present. To ordinary vision, anyone could see him, but they didn't know what they were looking at. So again, please think of this statement from the 4th canto of the Bhagavatam. Seeing Krishna is not as important as hearing about him from authorized descriptions and authorized persons. When you look at Dhruva Maharaj, he followed the instructions of Narada Muni, and his meditation became so intense that he was able to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead within the core of his heart. But then suddenly, that vision of the Supreme Lord disappeared from the core of his heart. So he broke his meditation in complete disappointment. Where is he? Where is he? Gone from my heart. Oh no. But then he opened his eyes and he saw the Supreme Personality of Godhead in front of him. So there's a technical point about all this. First, he was meditating on the Lord in the heart. He saw that. And then he lost that vision. So that's step 1, you might say. Step 2, outside of him, the Lord appeared. He attained the perfection of life. Vrindavan is different, especially when you're talking about Krishna's dearmost devotees, the gopis. This difference between Dhruva Maharaj is seeing the Lord and the intimate residence of Vrindavan seeing the Lord is brought out in Brihad Bhagavatamrita when Krishna himself is explaining to the residents of Dwarka, particularly the queens of Dwarka, how nothing can compare to his love for the cowherd girls of Vrindavan. He elaborated to them that this is where I'm really at. This is where my heart is really at. Can you, if you think mundanely, can you imagine a husband telling his wife, we don't say wives these days, but it's hard for a man just to deal with one wife, what to speak of many, but can you imagine the husband saying, I'm revealing my heart to you. Actually, I care more for some other woman. But Krishna did just that to the queens of Dwarka. Queens including Rukmini. And they accepted it. Yes, we can understand. Nothing can compare to the love between you and the gopis of Vrindavan. One person, though, one queen, specialized in having an attitude. Satyabhama. She couldn't tolerate it. She left the audience with the other queens and Krishna, where Krishna was glorifying the gopis of Vrindavan. Satyabhama left and went to the special room of her house, a special room of the palace known as the anger room. In Ram Leela, it's known as the sulking room. I don't know if any of you have such a room in your house. I was speaking at the Bhakti Center in New York on Ram's appearance day about the sulking room. In Ram Leela, it plays a prominent role. And what's the name of the wife of Ram who caused all the trouble? Kaikeyi. Yes, she went into the sulking room. So I asked the devotees, does anyone have a sulking room in your house? And one of the leaders of the Bhakti Center said, the whole house is that. So, Satyabhama went to the sulking or the anger room. And usually the husband is supposed to come and, make amends, fall at her feet. But Krishna didn't do that in this case. The other wives told him, Satyabhama is angry. Krishna immediately said, go get that foolish woman. So Satyabhama bathed and dressed herself, and she didn't immediately come before Krishna. She hid behind a pillar. But Krishna knew she was there just by subtle changes in the atmosphere and also the divine fragrance. So he asked, come before me. Now there's something you have to understand about Satyabhama's anger. It is all in pure love of Krishna. She's doing it to please Krishna. Krishna likes to cause spats with his beloveds and then make up with them. It's all part of being a connoisseur of loving affairs. We don't recommend that married men here try that. You're not the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You could be in trouble for quite some decades. It'll never be forgotten. 30 years from now, you'll hear about it, right? Do you remember 30 years ago? But that was 30 years ago. It feels the same way now. It's still the same thing. You haven't learned. So, she's doing that to please Krishna. In the spiritual world, perfection is full of variety. Krishna is the supreme enjoyer of all flavors, even spats with his wives. And Satyabhama knows that. We're going to have a fight. He likes it. I'm going to show jealousy and anger, and then he'll resolve things. In this way, we enjoy life. This is the supreme enjoyer, Krishna. He can handle anything. So Satyabhama's perfection is to offer pride and anger and envy and jealousy in her relationship with Krishna. So Krishna begins to lecture her. You foolish woman, and you're the daughter of a most foolish person, that Satyajit, who caused the Shimantaka jewel scandal. I'm reminding you. He said, let me tell you about my love for the residents of Vrindavan. He spoke about all the residents of Vrindavan. If they would ask me to renounce all my wives, children, and palaces in Dwarka, I would do it immediately. I promise you. Sounds very drastic, doesn't it? Krishna's telling his wife that I'll renounce everyone in Dwarka. Wives, children, palaces, wealth, you name it. I promise you I'll do that. But Sanatana Goswami points out that he's making such a solemn vow in front of Satyabhama, which means he's actually affectionate to her, because you don't make such solemn vows to someone who's not dear to you. These are the subtleties of bhakti. Satyabhama is actually so dear to Krishna, therefore he makes that proclamation, I promise you, I'll give all of you up. And then Krishna begins to explain something very interesting about Vrindavan. Because he's dealing with possible accusations that he's put the residents of Vrindavan in such suffering. So he says, whether I go there or I don't go there to Vrindavan, whether I'm present in Vrindavan or not present in Vrindavan, the effect will be the same, suffering. They suffer when I'm not there. They suffer when I'm there. And then he explains why. When they see me, they lose complete track of their whole existence. They lose track of their bodies, their affairs, their life. They're just totally disjointed, disconnected. from whatever's happening. That's one thing that happens when I'm there. Because of the depth of their love, they just become totally bewildered, totally helpless. Furthermore, even though I'm there, saying if I would be there, it doesn't solve the agony problem. Why? Because even though I would be there, they would be fearing separation from me. They would be in complete anxiety. He's going to leave, he's going to leave, he's going to leave. And that fear of separation will also be devastating. So what am I to do? Not only that, if I would go there to satisfy their feelings of separation, it would take a long time to do that. So the example the acharyas give is that consider someone who hasn't eaten for a long time. You can't just sit them down at a banquet, at a feast, and say, okay, gorge. Their body can't respond like that because they haven't eaten for so long. It's not simply they're emaciated, but their system is not used to handling solid food. Sometimes it's recommended. I don't know if it's still recommended about fasting. Nitai Chan can clarify. But if you've been fasting for some days, the old advice in California anyway, back in the 70s, was that you have to come out of it gradually with a break-fast drink and drink some juice and gradually steam vegetables, gradually get into your routine. So Krishna is giving that reason to the Dwarkavasis. I can't just go back there and boom, here I am. Everything is fine. It's going to be a gradual process because they're so devastated. I'll have to, just like giving someone gradual nourishment who is fasting, who's been fasting, I'll have to gradually reintroduce my presence to them. Otherwise, they won't be able to handle it all at once. It'll just be overload. So, I can't do it. I've got other things to do. I can't just go there and spend the amount of time required, the quality time. I can't do it. There's no abrupt solution. And anyway, even if I am there and everything's going on nicely, they'll be fearing that I'm going to leave any moment. So Krishna is revealing this varaha bhava, this ecstasy of separation, which is actually the essence of life in Vrindavan. And then there's the confidential secret that the Bhagavatam reveals in various places through the prayers of the ladies of Hastinapur, through the prayers of the ladies of Mathura, that actually Krishna does visit Vrindavan. But back to Dhruva Maharaj. Remember, Dhruva first was meditating on the Antardarshan. He saw the Lord in the core of his being as the fruit of his meditation. And then that was gone. That presence of the Lord, his vision of the Lord was gone. And then he opened his eyes and there was the Lord before him. The acharyas point out that there's a difference between this darshan that Dhruva had and the darshan of the Brijbasis. The Brijbasis, due to their intense love and feelings of separation, have no difference, see no difference, and attain no difference between the Lord that they meditate on within and the Lord without. In other words, their meditation on the Lord within is so intense that it produces the unified and holistic darshan of the Lord without. So whether within, without, there's no break. Oh, first within, and now without. No, what's within produces simultaneously what is without. So actually, this is why Rupa Goswami says Krishna never takes a step out of Vrindavan. He's there in his uppercut manifestation. Or, as Prabhupada describes that in the Krishna book, his bhava presence, his presence brought about by ecstatic love. This is the nature of Krishna's relationships with his most intimate devotees. Their feelings of separation bring about Krishna's presence more than when he is there in his Prakat Leela, his manifest Leela. And these are the secrets of seeing Krishna. Therefore, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur advises, stop trying to see Krishna in some bushes of Vrindavan while you're engaged in material life. Just follow the order of your spiritual master. That is the only secret for seeing Krishna. Seeing Krishna through the order of the spiritual master. So here we are, trapped in ignorance. Here we are, surrounded by darkness. And again, we have to ask ourselves, how motivated are we to go to the other side? Devahuti says, Paragam, crossing over. By your mercy, I'll be able to cross over. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, this is what it's all about. Do you want to go to the other side, or do you not? Do we want to linger in this material world, which is so problematic? Or do we want to make the ultimate adjustment? What is missing is our love for Krishna. I've been speaking to the brahmacharis about this. Reading from Chaitanya Charitamrita, the chapter in Madhya Lila, life's ultimate goal. The fruit of bhakti. Bhakti phala. If we don't know about the goal and hear about the goal, how are we going to be motivated to continue in the path of bhakti? We are meant to revive our love for Krishna, which involves attachment, attraction. Without that, we're attracted and attached to so many material situations which will not last and cannot give us substantial happiness. So therefore we talk, insane talk about it's all the moment. The moment is a jealous spouse that demands complete attention. We babble things like that, not knowing that it's our attachment to those material moments that is causing so many problems. Whereas bhakti is beyond the moment. When you engage in devotional service, you are tasting eternality. What you are doing now, serving Krishna, will be what you do in perfection, serving Krishna. Simply, your devotional service will become more ripe and more sweet. We're meant to revive our love for Krishna. That's what it's all about. We need a process to do that. So you have Nectar Devotion, which explains the process of bhakti. It's there in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Sanatan Siksha, Lord Chaitanya's instructions to Sanatan Goswami, and his instructions to Rupa Goswami. We're meant to hear that and move forward. There may be obstacles because that's the nature of the material world, to present stumbling blocks in the path of your progressive march back to Godhead. Until we become determined enough that Maya gives up on you. That's the benediction from the illusory energy that we want. Maya Devi gives up on us. You're a hopeless candidate for material existence. I give up. But you have to be very convincing about that. You have to be very convincing that you want to go to the other side. How can we do that without understanding Krishna? Understanding Krishna begins not by seeing Krishna, but by understanding Krishna's name. In this age of Kali, our spiritual progress begins with chanting Hare Krishna and ends with chanting Hare Krishna. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, real vision, when you're really seeing, you'll understand that there's nothing more to be had than the holy name in all the planetary systems. We long for that realization. Then we're actually seeing. So let us remember Krishna's description of how the residents of Vrindavan are so in love with him that seeing or not seeing is immaterial. If I go there and if I don't go there, the same result happens. I have a dilemma. They love me so much that even if I go there, they'll be in distress. They'll be worried I'm going to leave any moment. And I can't handle seeing them in distress. Krishna is presenting his side of it. They can't handle it. I can't handle it. What are we going to do? So he was presenting all this to the queens of Dwarka. Devahuti says, your lordship is my only means of getting out of this darkest region of ignorance, because you are my transcendental I, which by your mercy only I have attained after many, many births. Any questions? Yes. Well, what do you mean by it? Yeah, chanting, the deities, service, outreach. Yeah, I've been there, done that. That means we're getting dull. It's very important to be in tune with the glories of devotional service. That's what this chapter is titled. I remember in the early days, back in the 70s of ISKCON, when everyone would attend an evening program, because 95% of the devotees lived in ashramas, everyone would attend the evening program and there would be a nectar devotion reading and then Bhagavad Gita class. Without knowledge of the science of developing love for Krishna, you can take it all for granted. It's the nature of the material world to wear down your enthusiasm. You have to always keep it fresh. That means giving Krishna quality time, giving devotional service quality application, and being in the association of those who are progressive in bhakti, who want to go to the other side. You've seen, I've seen, we've all seen over the decades, devotees will associate with whom they want to associate with and go where that crowd is going. But it's every individual devotee's responsibility to have enthusiastic association. And enthusiasm is shown by devotional service. You're hearing and chanting, yes, so that you'll have more hearing and chanting, but you're an active entity, you're a spirit soul. You need to do things for Krishna. So we want to be in that kind of association. So that we're not what Prabhupada would call armchair meditators. We have energies, we have abilities, we've got resources. Let's get into it. Anything else? Yes? Who was just saying that? Brahma was saying that to Kardama Muni, his son. Brahma was also the guru of Kardama Muni. In some cases, the father can also be the guru. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur viewed his father, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, as guru, but Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, take diksha from someone else. But still, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is my guru. So Brahma told Kardama Muni, you are a first-class disciple because you did what I say. You follow my instruction. You took my order on your head. What was the order from Brahma to Kardama Muni? You should get married and help populate the universe with first-class living entities. All right, you've got 9 daughters. Marry them to the 9 sages. Brigu, etc. And that way, start this is at the beginning of the creation, you see. So start populating the universe with the most competent and intelligent beings. So Brahma was satisfied by Kardama Muni. You've done what I asked you to do. Now you can leave home. Mission accomplished. Just like Prabhupada always told us that on the order of his Guru Maharaj, he took Krishna Bhakti outside of India to the Western world. And then he decided as icing on the cake, he would go back to India and get India going, which was more than what his Guru Maharaj asked for. But first he said, I did what he asked me to do, and then I doubled up on my offering. I gave him more. Ladies, any questions? Yes. Oh, materially, you get lots of money, you get lots of fame. All the girls look at you better. The benefit is that you are formally enrolled in the Bhakti Academy and Krishna takes you more seriously. It's not that you get zero effect as an uninitiated devotee, but formal commitment shows someone that you're more serious. That's why in a civilized society, which we don't have now in the material existence, in a civilized society, people marry because that commitment means something. It shows the true depth that you aspire for in the relationship. So similarly, Krishna, being a person, appreciates commitment. So just as in a civilized human society, you have a period of engagement, and then there's the marriage. Similarly, we have a period of time in which one qualifies for initiation by showing steadiness. I mean, how many ladies here would like someone to come up to them out of the blue and, hey, you look pretty good. Let's stay together. No, any intelligent man or woman wants to see the steadiness, see the potential for a long-term relationship, not just a one-night or one-weekend affair. So we want to show Krishna that we are committed. And then we take the vows of commitment. It's all personal. Mahaprabhu explains in Chaitanya Charitamrita that the holy name does not wait for initiation for you to feel its partial effect. But commitment, formal enrollment, means that you're taken more seriously because you've taken vows, which will protect someone in trying moments. So speaking of initiation, we have a special situation. One of our devotees in the city for quite some years is facing what we all will face today or tomorrow, in that his material body, according to the doctors, is finished, and he doesn't know how much time he has. And Bhagavatam gives you the example of Pritchard Maharaj, who had 7 days. At least he knew he had 7 days to live. We don't know that we have 7 moments. But we're so confident. I'll be living, I'll be going on. Things will work out. Actually, we're accustomed to eternality, but we're looking for that eternality in terms of this body and this material world. And we're going to be severely disappointed because we have to give up these bodies. I have to give up my body. You have to give up your body. Whether it's today or tomorrow is actually immaterial. But that's hard to hear because, I'll be around for another 50 years. Things will work out. Well, it is 50 years. I always quote my mother, I asked her, what are your realizations now that when you reach 90 years old? She said, it all passed so quickly. So our Bhakti Neil is hearing that knock on the door. Of course, Krishna can do anything, and cancer can be unpredictable, but it for all reasons, it looks like his stay in this body is not for long. And we will all, as I said, go through that. We want to give him his name and his beads. Let him formally enroll, because we don't know when that call will come for him. We're happy he's able to come here today. I was worried whether he'd be able to walk here. And so we're, with the blessings of Kalasambhar Prabhu, we're giving him his name and beads. I don't know where I'll be in the coming months. I don't even know if I'll be in this world. Shot down in some airplane by some country sending up a missile by mistake, like Iran or something. You just don't know. On the way to Mayapur, on the way from Mayapur, we all can exit any time. So Neil is fortunate to have a good wife, Leela Mandal. And we also want to give her our support. So please come up, Neil. I don't think you're able to bow down. Okay. Hare Krishna. Are you able to sit, or you rather stand? Okay, all right. Neil told me that of all the thousands of nurses assigned that you could be assigned to in Auckland, he knew that Krishna's taking care of him when his assigned nurse asked him, what are those beads around your neck? He said, well, I'm a Hare Krishna. She said, guess what? So am I. So out of all the thousands of choices in Auckland City, he gets a devotee nurse. So that at that point he realized, this is not an ordinary thing I'm going through. Krishna's got his eye on me. What are the 4 rules? And what to do every day? At least. He told me that it's this chanting that is sustaining him now. He's not afraid. Your new name is Mathura Mandala. So now we have the Mandala family. All right. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.